presenter and discussant, Professor Craig Stone. Professor Craig Stone is Professor of American Indian Studies at California State University, Long Beach, but is also a member of the steering committee of the CSU Ethnic Studies Council. He is director of the CSULB American Indian Studies program at Cal State Long Beach. And Professor Stone is one of the authors of the Chancellor's Committee on the Advancement of Ethnic Studies in the CSU report. Professor Stone has taught at CSULB for almost 40 years. He is faculty advisor for the American Indian Studies Council at CSULB. He's also advisor for the annual powwow, now approaching its 50th year at Cal State Long Beach. The powwow is the largest student-sponsored event at CSULB and attracts over 6,000 people each year. Professor Stone began working in American Indian education in 1968 for the LA Unified School District, the GGG. What's GGG?
These are just different Indian education projects back in, it was 1976.
Okay. And the LBUSD. Okay. And I didn't know that school district, that's why I was there.
Yeah.
That's good. He is one of the founders of the Long Beach Ethnic Studies Initiative Partnership, where over 450 high school students are introduced to ethnic studies in college level courses taught in 3 local school districts each semester. A proficient singer, Dr. Stone has sung at hundreds of American Indian gatherings and celebrations for over 50 years. We give a warm welcome to Professor Teresa.
I greet you in the 2 languages where I come from, Cal State Long Beach.
Yes, Cal State Karenga.
So we affectionately refer to Cal State Long Beach as Cal State Karenga. So I first want to apologize to those elders that I spoke before you. And I want to share just a short song in Smooch, which is one of our languages in Southern California. And so that song, it's in the Smooch language, and it's a dialect of Chumash, and one of our faculty. Our faculty are culturally competent content specialists. So the person who teaches language, this dialect, she's also a tribal leader. She's also a Superior Court judge. She's also a lawyer, and she teaches our American Indian law course. So for us at Cal State Long Beach, that's the words say that we appreciate and respect you. So that song is for you. So just picking up on some of the panelists' things that people have said, I first want to address a few things. The history of education for Native Americans and First Nations people in North America has been a tool of cultural genocide, right? So we're only 50 years into this situation. And our questions are, when we began, were how do we re-indigenize? Or how do you indigenize? How do you decolonize? For us, at Cal State Long Beach, we're the oldest American Indian Studies program west of the Mississippi. And we were started because of the EOP program. There was a critical mass of Native students that came onto campus and realized there was nothing in the curriculum that had anything to do with a Native perspective. And people didn't want more of just forced, what would be kind of coerced forced assimilation, right? Before it's cultural genocide is forced assimilation. So it was California Indian people who started us at Long Beach. It was Larry Benenguez, and then other urban American Indians that started our program. Gavin Newsom, he apologized just this last summer. I don't know if you saw that. Did you see that? He apologized for the state's role in the genocide of California Indian people. And this is 50 years after we started. We've been advocating for that on campus since day one. And so just now he acknowledged that. That's pretty awesome that he did that. I think a lot of Native people are surprised that he actually did that. Let me see. So when we began, there were, Cal State Long Beach, Cal State Pavonga, we're the only university in the United States that's actually reburied the indigenous ancestors of the land on our campus. 1976, we reburied almost 100 ancestral remains. The tribal group in our area is Tonga and also a Hashiman. Neither are federally recognized tribes. They don't have reservations. 109 federally recognized tribes in California. 78 petitioning. So you have just that incredible linguistic and cultural diversity in our state. But what you have at Long Beach is people don't have a place to rebury. So when you go to repatriate, people don't have a reservation. They don't have traditional burial areas. So we did that on campus. And this is our chancellor. So if you read this, you know, he's acknowledging the sacred space. And that's one of our questions. From day one, you know, there was this idea that we need to make this space, reclaim this space, rename this space, and make it a space that is one of those spaces where indigenous people can come together. If you look at where we're at, it says Tongva. And one of the problems with this kind of mapping of human experience is that it's situated in time and who's in the room at the time, and you know, it has nothing to do with history, but it has to do with a certain time period. So this is also where we're at with Pavonga. It means the gathering place or place of emergence. It's the birthplace of the Chimichini spiritual philosophy. So it's a very significant place for people down into Ensenada, Mexico, out into Yuma, Arizona, throughout Southern California. So it says just Tongva, but it should also say Luceño, and it should also say Juaneño or a Hashiman. Land acknowledgement, really important for you to do at your universities. So both Ken and Teresa made reference to this. With 109 tribes federally recognized and 178 others, it's really difficult to know where you stand. We often ask, do you know where you stand? And people have no idea usually, right? Even on our own campus. So one of the things that when American Indian Studies began, one of the founding principles of that, it grows out of California Indian Education Association, people like Dave Risling, and then also Jack Forbes. And in 1978, 1979, I think they published it in 71, Jack wrote a handbook for how to develop Native American studies. And one of the things that he said was that these are the three types of faculty that are needed. And the first one is PhDs or equivalents in subjects related to Indian history, culture, who teach part of their classes. And Jack felt, and so did the other founders, that we have too many of those guys already. In other words, they were in their discipline base, they were essentially culturally assimilated in the universities, and they spoke about Indians as a subject, you know, not as a lived experience, not as culturally competent content specialists, not people that do what they teach, have lived what they teach. So the second is practicing artists or musicians. But the difference is, it's not to make artwork to put on display, to explain yourself. It's to make artwork that extends your culture, that extends your language, that extends your worldview, that what you're doing, your actions today, will continue your culture 7 generations into the future. So this is our kind of challenge, right? So for these kinds of artists, you have to actually create cultural events. You have to extend culture and ceremony in order for them to exist in academia. Very few artists in academia do this, right? Most make things to explain or that are representative, right? So, but this is what Jack, this was the kind of founding concepts. And the third was the most important. So when we select faculty today, this is one of the things we try to look for is people who have these characteristics. That American Indians involved with Indian affairs, tribal management, Indian legal practice, Indian community development. So that's when we're searching for people, we're trying to find people like Teresa who is Kumeyaay Ipai and Yoeme, and she's awesome. And we hired her, and she's awesome. So when we started, I was hired part-time as a lecturer in 1981. And there's two things. One was in the decision-making process in Native American Studies, and the decision-making process in the School of Art. The School of Art, one man said, "Hey, Craig, you'd be good at teaching this. You want to teach this class?" And that was it. So I was indebted to one person. Native American Studies, you had to be qualified, known in the community. You had to give your lecture to all these representatives, about 60, 80 people. And those community members decided that you would teach. It wasn't one person. You were indebted to that community, and you had a responsibility to represent those viewpoints in that way. So these are concepts, right, about that community-based decision-making, horizontal decision-making, not vertical decision-making. And we've had our rub with the university many times about this kind of including non-academics in the decision-making process. So, well, we do it and figure out ways to do it so we can find real people. Yeah. So, this is our 50th anniversary poster. I'm going to give one to you. Back in the 70s, we asked ourselves the question, what is the headdress for American Indian leaders today and tomorrow? And this was for a conference, so it's educational propaganda. And so this mortarboard needle feather today, throughout the United States and Canada, you'll see people wear this. Has anybody here worn this, or you made this, or your relatives have worn these? Okay, great. So, my time's almost up. So, anyway, I made that hat. That was my idea. So that was a cool thing. But the deal is that that's artwork that serves, or cultural production that serves the community about our own collective ideas. It's not making things for other people, right? It's to explain stuff. Let me do one. So this law was passed, and I'll end with this. This grew out of Jolie De La Torre's students down at San Marcos. And so right now with the union CFA, we're engaged with a lot of bills, and lobbying outside of the place where you're at is so very important. People are shocked that we have to pass laws in order to be able to wear a trapper regalia or kente cloth at graduation. So I have to stop.